Like, he gives me such Nick Viall vibes. He's like a Temu Nick Viall in looks, although I never thought I always thought Nick Viall was like a Temu Ryan Reynolds, but now I think Ryan Reynolds is just Temu too. Like, all of that.
Welcome to Sunday Lunch, Reality Served, where we discuss reality TV, pop culture, and what distracted us this week. Hello, Jessie.
Hello, Sophie. How are you going?
I'm a little bit excited, a lot excited.
A little bit, a lot excited. We have a fun side dish episode for you guys today. Before we get into that, Sophie, what's in your cup now?
Well, for a very special side dish, a very special little cocktail, so might become a bit of a side dish theme, but a G&T with a lemon twist. What's in your glass, Jessie?
Well, my two favorite drinks are alcoholic drinks are gin or Verve Clicquot, and I don't have any Verve to hand at the moment, sadly. So mine's a little G&T cocktail as well, and I think a cocktail goes perfectly with a side dish episode. So here we are.
I must say, I am actually looking, I can see in our wine fridge outside, we do have a bottle of Verve that has been sitting there since last year because I have given up champagne for all time. I would have told you that.
I thought it was just for 6 months. I didn't think it was for all time.
No, for all time. So I did 100 days alcohol free at the start of the year. And then I was like, I could do that forever. And then I thought that's probably not realistic, but I will give up champagne forever because that is the one that I always have. I'll have a wild night and, I might give the people's elbow. So I am not. But what I will ask, what sort of gin are you drinking?
Oh, I love this question. First of all, I love the people's elbow, guys. That is Sophie trying to tickle someone with either her elbow, but she'll also use her chin.
It's really the chin. I don't use my elbow, but that's a story for another time.
It is a story for another. Look, I support anyone who's trying to give up certain alcohols. I can't drink very much anymore, but I do love a French champagne, so that pains me to hear that. In terms of what gin I have, I love all the different gins. I don't like sweet ones. So no, I don't love all the different gins. I don't like those pink sweet ones, but This is literally just a classic Bombay Sapphire. I enjoy a fancy Japanese gin like the rest of us, but just classic Bombay Sapphire with a diet tonic. Oh, heaven. What about you?
Perfect. Yes, I do love a Bombay Sapphire as well. I just sort of went looking through the drinks because we really haven't been drinking. So we had Tanqueray in there. So I thought perfect. And then I pulled it out and it was empty. So what I am drinking is I'm looking at it right now on the bench. It's the one from Ryan Reynolds, the
Aviator gin.
Aviator. And I thought it would make you a bit cross. So I know, but actually it's quite good. So, but it's with full, it's not diet.
Well, I'm going to say this. I don't like Ryan Reynolds, but I did like Blake Lively's recipe for a martini in that movie she did with Anna Kendrick. I thought she obviously got that right. So I was like, oh, I see what you're doing, with a bit of cross promo there. But I do like your recipe for martini. So I'm not mad at it. Not mad at it.
Excellent, excellent. Anyway, it wasn't my first choice. Okay. I was looking for an English gin.
Look, do what we've got to do. Okay, what are we talking about today, Sophie?
MAFS. If anyone is more, experienced and eligible to discuss MAFS, it's Australians. So here we are. I mean, I just saw it on TikTok or Instagram that there was a MAFS season coming out from America, their season 20, first one on Peacock, and they said something about it being in the Australian format, which confused me because I'm actually new to MAFS. But can you fill me in?
Yes, I can fill you in. Oh my God. So I've been watching MAFS from the beginning because it was kind of until Australia had The Bachelor, this was the closest thing we had. And I was also watching the American one from the beginning because, guys, I have secretly been watching so much reality TV my whole life and no one ever knew. It's actually a bit exposing to tell everyone this now.
I love it.
So I watched this with my flatmate when I used to live in Sydney, and it was a much more serious series when it started in America and then in Australia. They're both genuine social experiments. But in the American one, they legally got married. They literally walk down that aisle, see their groom, and get married legally on the spot. So there is a Bachelor connection to all of this as well, which is that Jamie and Doug, which are one of the enduring couples of the American MAFS universe from one of these early seasons, she was a contestant on The Bachelor. I always really liked her because she was a nurse and she been orphaned essentially, and she raised her siblings. And so she had like this was like in the early days of having a great sob story for The Bachelor.
Gosh, I feel like I know who she is just by her story.
Yes, she's
I
really
feel
pretty.
Yeah, gorgeous.
And she didn't do that well in The Bachelor, but I always was like, you raised your siblings and you're a nurse. Like, good for you. And then she ended up on MAFS in America. Or her husband nearly had a panic attack and ran, went through with it, was not attracted to him whatsoever. And he just waited. Like, I feel like it was a little bit like you and Sean, like the salt and the spice. She was all glamorous and spicy, and he was just this like sweet, kind, very calm man. And he just waited till she fell in love with him, and they're still together this very day.
It's so sweet. And so I think I've said it before, but I just watched my first season of MAFS ever this season in Australia, and then I've gone back and watched an old Australian season. But I did wonder if they were getting legally married. So
Yeah.
do they or don't they?
Well, in those early American seasons, they did because it's legal to marry someone on the spot, whereas in Australia, it's not. I think you have to know each other for 60 or 90 days. So when it came to Australia implementing this original style of MAFS format, it was like just a fake wedding. And then similar to the American version, it followed them moving in and all of that. But there was no group therapy. There was like no trashy dinner parties. They weren't all put up in, trash towers, some bloody hotel complex that houses all the couples. It was all very individual. And then something happened in the Australian version where they got like a new head producer. I think her name's Tara someone. She's not still on it, but and I'm giving her all the credit because I'm pretty sure I read an article once where she came in and brought this new format where they had the 3 experts, they had the weekly commitment ceremonies, housed them all together, forced them to interact with lots of alcohol and watch the fireworks explode. And so Australian MAFS has been wildly successful using this format. The UK people, reality TV lovers, love the Australian version to the point where I think they've implemented their own UK version, which isn't as good. And now we're at the American version, which has decided to adopt the Australian format.
Yay! That's exciting. Okay. And so they've adopted this new format, the Australian format. They've brought it to Peacock. I think it used to be on not Lifestyle or AMC or one of the smaller American networks. So I think they must be really doing a real sort of MAFS push. But to be fair, I had no idea America even had MAFS. I thought that was like only ours.
It's because it was on some boring, like some tiny little network. It was boring. It was like documentary style.
You still managed to find it.
Honey, I find a reality program like nobody's business. And yeah, now they're adopting the Australian format. Sophie and I have watched the first 3 episodes available. I was very excited. I think I texted you, Sophie, when they were doing their confessionals and one of the producers clearly had an Australian accent. I said, Sophie, you have to watch this because it will tide us over until Australian MAFS comes out, which, can I just talk for 1 second on Australian MAFS? It is so deeply problematic, like all of these shows. However, it holds up like the biggest mirror, I think, to Australian society. The nation all watches it. It dominates discourse in the media cycle and at water coolers at work constantly. Like, so it's wild to me that you came to Australian MAFS as late as you did.
I just don't watch commercial television. And so it's saying something about how huge the discourse is that I did begin to watch it because I was like, okay, I can't continue to be blind to what's happening here. I like to watch my, Netflix, etc.
But it makes sense. None of us like watch commercial television anymore. And that's how big Aussie MAFS is that we all still watch it. And you did eventually find your way to it. I also think it's important that if you are watching it, Australian MAFS with teenagers, it's really important to break down what is happening with these couples. And I think that's what we're also going to do a little bit today with the American couples for this season 20 of American MAFS, which let's just pretend it's season 1 because it's the new format and we're starting afresh.
That's what I think. Let's see it as a season 1. And yes, you messaged me, Jessie. You're like, oh my gosh, you've got to watch this. I even subscribed to Stan so that I could watch it because we didn't have Stan at the minute. And it's kind of interesting how they're dropping the episodes. So they're sort of doing like mini drops, a few episodes at a time. So right now we've had the weddings of all 7 couples. and we both watched the episodes, and I said to Jessie, we have to discuss the couples because we don't know anything about them except for their wedding so far. And let's have a conversation where we basically, based on no information, make
Yes.
calls around our hot takes as to whether we think they're going to make it or not make it based on the first couple of episodes before we see the new one. So you know that we're doing it blind.
Yes, I love this. It's our hot takes and it's based on nothing but wedding vibes, you guys. Okay. So, and honestly, like, it's enough to give you hot takes because those weddings are always so juicy. So, Sophie, shall we kick off? You're going to identify if someone's salt and spice, and then we are going to give them a rating out of 10 as to whether we think they're likely to make it to the final episode. Is that right?
Yes, that's what we're thinking. So I didn't plan, but just as I was watching it, I was like, oh, salt, oh, spice. And so just a refresher, we've talked about that on a previous episode, but I seem to notice in relationships, usually successful relationships, that one person is salt, who's sort of the salt of the earth, grounded, usually like deeply, inherently, like have a self-worthiness. So I wouldn't call them boring. They're just the salt of the earth. And then the spice is the person who's, brings the flavor, usually a bit, exciting, a little bit silly, maybe a bit cuckoo. And so usually in a relationship, and again, it's just something I've noticed. And I just found myself as I was watching this going, salt, spice. And I've got no idea whether I'm right or not because we don't know them yet. So we'll have a chat about that. And then I didn't plan to rate them until I saw the very first couple, Marissa and Adam. And every part of my being wanted to give them a rating. And so then we started with that, and let's start with them.
Let's start with them, although I just have to point out that I love whenever you describe what a spicy person is like, you're just describing yourself. It's
me.
funny.
I'm Spice.
Yeah, you're
Little
like,
unhinged, brings the fun.
Right. Adam and Marissa. We meet Adam when all the boys get together and Adam decides to play them an 18-minute piano concerto.
What the hell? This guy, it's like it begins already. He has no self-awareness. None.
He's perfect for this show.
Yeah, he is perfect for this show. And look, I'll just quickly say, so we're talking about Marissa and Adam. They're the first couple. Adam is 31. He is a data analyst who works remotely. And then we have Marissa, who's 30, and she's a program manager at a major Seattle-based company. But as you say, we first meet Adam at the Bucks party. He already gave me the ick vibes. And then what's interesting about this American version is, so we've got these two sort of love experts, and we've got Paul Brunson. And so he is apparently one of the experts from the UK. He's an internationally renowned matchmaker and relationship coach. And then we've got Dr. Lisa Paz, who's a clinical sex and marriage therapist. But we meet Adam, or we meet Paul as he's showing up to Adam's boathouse. Was he living in a boathouse, or was he just living by the boats?
So Adam's whole identity is based on the fact that I've got a lake house by the lake and I've got a jet ski, but I also play the piano. And I'm also 6'5" and absolutely ripped. And so, as you say, we see Paul, who I really like, come to meet Adam at his lake house. And Paul does something that I think is so inspired, which our experts here in Australia, I guess Paul's equivalent would be John Aiken, who I secretly, I guess it's not a secret anymore, I call him Daddy Aiken because he's like my dad. Like,
Is he?
No,
like your actual dad, or is it like a zaddy daddy?
Maybe a bit of both. Because it's John Aiken. He steers the nation through MAFS. Without him, we'd be lost. And so Paul, I guess, is like Zaddy Daddy Aiken.
Mm-hmm.
And he turns up to sit with Adam and talk to his friends and get a sense of who this guy is. And we find out that Adam has a situationship going on. He's been dating and sleeping with a woman, which he seeks to minimize excessively and says, oh, it's just very casual. Like, no, we just go on the jet ski and then I make her dinner and but it's nothing serious. She's not even into me. And Paul says, okay, that's fine. I need you to ring her and end the situationship over the phone right now.
Yes, Paul. Yes. This was so bizarre to me. He had no plans to ring and break up with this girl.
None.
He's like, no, she doesn't need to know. Why would she need to know? Like, what? Like, Paul, you're crazy. And then when he rings her, did she need to know? Yes,
Yes,
she
she
was
was so
devastated.
Yes. He was like, "She won't even care, I'll just text her." And he's like, "No, ring her. Ring her." He actually watching them sit there while this guy tried to weasel out of it, and Paul was just like, "Ring her now. Just ring her." I was like, "Paul, I was not familiar with your game. I'm very interested in you now. I really like that." And she got so upset she hung up on him.
Yeah, and because obviously she's like, "Why are you doing this?" Obviously, because he would have had to declare he was doing it on camera as well. So it's bizarre. I mean, to me, the man is a walking red flag. Before I wrote anything else, I just wrote that he himself is a 1 out of 10. I know that is so harsh, but when someone has to tell you they're a good person, he's like, "I'm a good person." You don't have to say you're a good person. And then I think the other thing he kept saying is like that he's relaxed. And I'm like, you are not relaxed. You appear entirely uptight. You appear incredibly judgmental about and then we can talk more about that as it gets into the Marissa of it. But I just in his solo sort of intro, I just felt like he was a walking red flag early on.
100%. I think his identity is tied up in the things that he has. It's like the lake house, the jet ski, my height,
Yeah.
and then we meet Marissa, and look, Marissa's gorgeous. She looks like Millie Bobby Brown to me. Did you notice
Yeah,
that?
I could yes, now that you say it, I can absolutely see it.
I cannot not see it. All I see is
Mm.
Millie Brown, who, I root for. So I'm rooting for Marissa. We meet her. She, wants a great guy. Obviously, we all do. But she loves to read and she likes to have a few drinks with her girlfriends. And it turns out that Adam doesn't ever drink because of the calories and thinks reading is stupid.
Yeah, he says at one point, he's like, "Ugh, some people will read an entire weekend and they would just let that." And I was, this is terrible because we know that she loves to read. And she just seems, she said she went to 8 weddings in 1 year. She cried at all of them. She's desperate for love, but she also seems like a boss babe in her own right as well. Seems to have an incredible career and is wanting to come in looking for a partnership. So I was a bit sus on this show from the start because I thought, why have you paired them? Because it's almost feels like you're trying to put two incompatible people together and they both feel like spice to me. I'm like, I think he's spice. I think she's spice. I'm like, what is happening here? They were the first couple and I was feeling a bit.
I agree. I think there's going to be clashes there. And like with Australian maths, I think they match some people for love and some for ratings. I actually think they thought they were matching these two for love. They both work in IT. They're both saying they want to settle down. They're both extremely attractive physically. There should be no issues there. But the reading thing, I honestly just think they overlooked it because the thing about him, Adam, that I didn't like was that he seems to expect, actually, all of the men I found this as a pattern seem to expect that the woman will be like slid and subsumed into their life and their interests, but they don't have to take on any of their wives. So he was like, you'll come out on the boat. Like, I'll get her exercising. She won't be drinking because I'm not drinking. And I'm just like, is this how America is? Because that is far.
No, yeah, that's when he gave Sam vibes from the last MAFS where he was like, "Oh, I'll get her running." Because this is something with the US MAFS, which is this gift thing that they do, and he'd sent her over a gift that was all about himself. So he'd sent her, like a lanyard from his jet ski, pickleball, ski goggles, whatnot. And then he said to one of his groomsmen, if she doesn't like sports, I've trained multiple athletes in my life. And I just wrote down like he seems controlling and he seems judgmental. And then when he received her gift, which had, like a little fireball shot, this book, a journal that was supposed to be the beginning of their sort of love story, instead of sort of seeing it for what it was, it was again judgmental, like, oh, I hope she doesn't spend all time sitting around reading. Alcohol, toxins, calories, it was very, again, controlling and judgmental.
Absolutely. It completely gave me the ick. I was like, can't you see a gift for what it is, which is the person was thinking of you. They don't know you, but also just the way he was so anti-reading. I was like, oh, you don't want an intelligent woman because she won't last 5 seconds with you. So I agree. I think we probably got two spices here. I think I give them a 1 out of 10 to get to the end.
Me too. Although what I will say, the experts' defense is they did get it right in a sense because come the wedding, she's walking down the aisle, he turns around and they know each other. And I couldn't believe it. So the two of them had met in a bar many, many years ago and exchanged numbers and never got around to going on a date. So interestingly, I mean, the experts could have never known that. So they did pick each other for themselves at one point. So I just thought that that was an interesting little sort of tidbit.
I agree, and I think it comes down to physical attraction. They're going to have it, but I think it's just going to fall apart over their common interests and his expectations, and I
And
just don't
his,
stand for it.
yeah, self-involvement and lack, because then he does it again. He performs at the wedding, which is supposed to be for her.
I blocked that. He
He
performs the concerto again. Yes.
and two numbers. And like literally her bridesmaids are like giggling, they can't stop laughing. And he takes himself so seriously.
And that comes back to that controlling his image. And I think the expert Paul said to him, I actually think you're very controlled. And he said, but we'll put that aside. And I was like, oh, Daddy Paul, he knows what's going on.
He does.
I like these male experts because they're so good at communicating, and that's my love language.
That's your love language. And it's probably like quite the juxtaposition with most of the contestants. So, and yeah, so I equally gave a 1 out of 10, just for him personally, but also for their likelihood to make it to the final episode. But I mean, who knows?
Who knows? Stranger things have happened. Moving on to Felipe and Tori. Now, Felipe either owns a family restaurant or manages a family restaurant. He loves it. He used to be, in his own words, a bit nerdy, a bit skinny. He went to the gym, got bulked up, fixed his teeth, fixed his hair, has a lot more confidence now. He feels that women are really interested in him. He loves to go out and party. Now, I don't know if that's just like dancing and drinking. He is, I think, Brazilian, or he's definitely South American. So there's obviously cultural context there, that there's a lot of dancing and being with your friends and family and having a great time, which I actually really love. But he does seem to stay out all night, which I don't really love. And then you've got Tori, who they've set him up with. Now, Tori, not that memorable at this point, other than very pretty, seems very sweet, genuinely looking for love. What are your initial takes on this couple?
Well, it was interesting. I found myself doing this sort of backflip. As I introduced Felipe, particularly at the Bucks party, and he said things like, oh yeah, I cheated on someone and then I didn't remember for 2 years. And like you said, like he runs a restaurant, so he runs late hours, but he goes out and he parties. One of the first lines he says is, I didn't used to be this good looking. And I thought, oh, don't say that. And I actually wrote into drugs for sure, because I was like, how are you out all night? He missed, several of his interviews with the show because he'd been out and whatnot. And then as I just got to see more of him, I became more, just flipping, like more compelled. I was like, no, you just have a lot of energy. You love life. You love living life, seems to have an amazing relationship with his mum and his sister, really wants the family connection. So I started to sort of flip on him. And then with Tori, I think she might be one of the most beautiful women I've seen in my whole life. And she is, so to me, like he is the spice and she is the salt. She is the salt of the earth. I think she grew up in a interesting family dynamic. She basically helped raise her sister. Her sister says the most beautiful things about her. The first thing that she says is, it's not a very salt thing to say, but if you could tell, what would be the one thing you would tell people about yourself? She said, I'm not crazy.
I was like, oh, girl, you're a little bit crazy, and I like it.
You're probably a little crazy, because we all are. Loves her dog, Pilates, yogas. But then when she was imagining her own future, and she said, I would love to have an open door policy where people just come to our house and we feed them and we entertain them. And I was like, my gosh, you two might be the perfect match.
I agree so much. So I was so worried about him. I was worried there was drugs involved. I mean, he's 29 though, so he probably could just stay out on booze and vibes. We're old.
He's only 29.
He's young. And then like the whole, like, I'm good looking now, girls love, my new looks. I'm like, well, honey, I don't know. But then when I saw his mum, his dad is this short little sweet bald man that has tears in his eyes the whole wedding. I was like, oh my God, this is beautiful. Felipe's sister, clearly they are close. She loves him. She gave a beautiful speech. That is a close family. They treated it like a real wedding. Like they didn't treat this like it was some silly idea of Felipe's. They're like, no, you know what? If this is what you're choosing, we love you. We support you as your family. And hers did the same. And I was like, okay.
And so different to Adam, because Adam's family did not show up for him. they were off, hiking and whatever. And it was just such a different, you could tell he was angry at them, but he was pretending he wasn't. Like there was this felt so very different to that.
Different. This felt like a real wedding amongst families that were rooting for these two people. And the best part, I thought, was they had their little wedding. It was so sweet. They're both super sweet. And then as they're walking down the aisle, she says to him, "My God, you are so good looking." And he said, "I think you are." And I was like, yay.
I know. It was so cute. Like that was the two things that they wanted to say to each other. And not that it is everything, but they just were both open. And I thought I was a bit nervous again when he's like, "It's only going to work if my mum approves." And I was like, oh God, is the mum going to be a bit of a tyrant? But the mum was actually beautiful. And when they did the mother-son dance and she was speaking to him in Portuguese, and it was, just that it was so beautiful. And I felt like he cut the cake at the end and he said, you give it to the most important person in your life. And he's like, "Mum, I love you, but I'm giving this to Tori." And then Tori went and gave the cake to the mother. And I was like, Tori, don't give away all your power just yet.
But I agree with you. But at this point, I'm just going to caution us, Sophie, because if you've been a long-term MAFS Australia watcher like I am, they'll give you one of these weddings. They'll give you one of these beautiful weddings where you think everything's great and they're going to be a 10 out of 10. They're going to fall in love. And I fall for it every time. It's like, I'll ignore my original misgivings about the guy because I love his family, and I'll be swept away in the romance of the edit of the wedding. And I'll say to Charlie, I do it every year. I say, "Oh my God, I'm crying. No, I think these two are really going to make it." And he's like, "You know that it might disappoint you later." So I'm going to
Are
say
they
yes.
playing with their emotions, Jessie? Would they do that?
Are you shocked? And I go with it every time. So that's what's happened to me with Felipe and Tori. I'd give them today 10 out of 10. I think they're meant to be. I'm excited. I want them to fall in love, and we'll have to see.
Okay, well, I gave them a 7 out of 10. Yes, because I think I wanted to take into consideration, the fact that he was late for his interviews.
The party.
So I feel my best hope is that her beautiful, grounded energy and the fact that she isn't loud will make him, like, without her having to like pester him and change him, that he would be like, "I want to be with you. I want to come home after work. I want that." So that's what I would love to happen, but will it happen? Let's see.
You are very smart because, yes, you haven't just thrown away all his red flags. So that's very smart. Okay.
7. Okay, so who are we on to next? We're on to, is it Belle and Mecca? Is that who was next? That's not who.
Mecca and Belle Jolie.
Let's talk about them. So
I'm going to say disaster to me. Absolute disaster. What do you think?
Okay, so Mecca, he's only 28. He's a sanitation worker, but he's also like a model and does some other things, and that's a family business. And then we've got Belle Jolie, who's 28, who's an R&B singer, songwriter. Okay, what are your thoughts here?
I think they're both lovely individuals. I think Mecca is so lovely. I think Belle Jolie's so lovely. Her mum's beautiful. They have a beautiful relationship. I think Mecca, and I'm going to go so far as to say at this stage, he's so young. I don't even think it's his fault really, but his father is what I would see as a very negative, not a good model for Mecca. I think he says things that make Mecca very uncomfortable, but Mecca tries to laugh them away and say, "Oh, you know what you're talking about, Dad." Like, so for example, and it really gave me the ick, they're heading towards the wedding. Like, it's right before Mecca is going to stand at the end of the aisle. And the dad is saying something like, "Are you going to kiss her on the mouth or the cheek?" And Mecca's like, "Oh, well, it's sort of like up to her." And the dad said something like, "If she kisses you on the cheek, you're weak. If you get the tongue, she's sprung." And I was like, gross, first of all. Second of all, that's your dad saying that? Like, maybe your 15-year-old cousin might say that, but a grown man and your father, that's the advice he's going to give you down the aisle.
Oh my God, the dad was so odd. Like, saying things like that. And I think, even before the wedding started, the dad stood up and gave a speech. Like, all the dad wanted to do was make it about himself. And I think you're right. I think he gives his dad a lot of passes because He feels abandoned by his mom. He feels abandoned by his stepmom. I think it seems that he has some disconnect with other sort of siblings. And so he has his dad in his life and he's trying to hang on to that. And I think he gives his dad passes that his dad doesn't deserve. I also sort of thought Mecca appears to have low self-confidence. And I think his love language is words of affirmation because he was sort of asking Belle after the wedding straight away. He was asking her for affirmation, like, did I disappoint you? Did I whatnot? And I did think she's a singer, she's an artist, and I was hoping that maybe she might be that fit, that she could provide those words of affirmation. But I think because she's sort of got the dad issues and he's got the mum issues, my concern was that, like, who is so in it, I think he is the salt and she is the spice,
Yes,
but I
I
don't know that his salt is rooted deep enough. She's going to need that affirmation too. So my fear is they're both going to be needing strength and affirmation from each other, but they may not be able to provide it yet. So it's interesting you talk about his age as well, because that was kind of my
mm,
my
I
worry.
Yeah, I agree. The insecurities based on his family situation, trying to hang on to that relationship with his dad and make it okay when really his dad is not doing right by him in this wedding at all. As you said, got up multiple times to make speeches, to be main character energy, kind of flirted with the bride. It was just
Yes. And then accused Mecca of having an erection during the
yes.
vows. Like, it was so weird.
Like, literally, and Sophie's not kidding, like, he literally said, "You had an erection during the vows." Like, it was so out of pocket, and poor Mecca, like, he just did not know what to do, so he tried to laugh it off, but as you say, he's got those insecurities. I think she's looking for an older man, a more established salt, as you say, with deeper roots and self-confidence to kind of support her through, I guess, her musical dream. I just don't think Mecca is the type of man emotionally that she was looking for, unfortunately. And I feel bad for both of them because I'm like, oh, I can see why the experts did put you together, but I don't think it's going to work.
No, and I think he will need someone stronger as well that gives him the confidence to stand up to his dad. So I think it's sort of both. Like, she needs the deeper roots and so does he. But yeah, I'm going to give them a 5 out of 10. I'm going to sit right on the line because I really want it to work. Like, the good vibes on the dance floor when their families were dancing, and just there was some really good vibes there. So, and I did see it on this season of MAFS, and because I've only watched the 2 seasons, but when they've brought those issues to the experts, the Australian experts were actually able to help and say, like, go back and try this and try this. So these are 2 people that maybe they'll find the strength through the process.
Look, I hope so. And on that note, like, based on the weddings, I'm going to give them a 6 out of 10 to make it to the end. Even though I think
Okay.
they're a disaster in the making, like, long term, it's just not going to happen. But I do think both of them will work very hard to try to do it because I think they're here with the right intentions. And yeah, they're both really kind, family oriented people. So I think they'll try to get to the end. I just don't think it's going to work. And I think she'll realize it before he does. But he needs someone who will provide him with a new family so he can leave that dad behind.
Absolutely, that's what he needs. Okay, so let's move on then. Let's go on to Nick and Courtney. So
Talk about these two weirdos.
yes. So Nick is 31. He's a technology professional and reality TV personality. He's MIT computer science graduate. And then we've got Courtney, 28, who splits her time between Texas and Oregon, working in cloud strategy and business development at Oracle. So they're both techie folks, but he also has spent a fair bit of time on reality TV.
He wants to be famous, full stop. Like, that's it. He's not here for the right reasons. He wants to be famous. He's been giving it a go. He walks around saying, "Oh, you recognize me from reality TV." Like, he gives me such Nick Viall vibes. He's like a Timu Nick Viall in looks, although I always thought Nick Viall was like a Timu Ryan Reynolds, but now I think Ryan Reynolds is just Timu too. Like, put them all in the bin. I think, yeah, he's here for a lark. He's here for a good time. That's fine. Courtney, on the other hand, is self-described conservative, and she just doesn't understand how anyone who looks, at the finances just can't be conservative and Republican with her. So immediately I was like, oh, you're an idiot. Like, sorry, there are many other financial systems in the world that are not American conservatism. So
And she
whatever.
said she's conservative, and he said he's conservative. But then when the Paul was saying, well, okay, I need to know how conservative. Tell me about your thoughts on January 6th. And she's like, January 6th, could you remind me what that is again? And then he's like, okay, that's all I need to know.
I don't believe her. Of course she knew what that was. And to
You
say,
think so?
absolutely. And that's why he said that's all I need to know. I mean, how I took that interaction with Paul, the expert who is a man of color, I just thought it was so disrespectful of her. And I thought it was disrespectful of her anyway. I mean, she's got to be honest. I get it.
Well, yeah, she's allowed to have her preferences. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I thought maybe she really didn't know. I thought maybe she's just saying she's conservative because everyone around her is conservative and she's privileged enough not to have an opinion. But yes, and she's a bodybuilder and her parents were bodybuilder and she's very competitive. She wants someone who
It's such a vanity exercise, though. Anyway. Sorry to all the bodybuilders out there. Sorry.
Yeah, the whole thing was because then she didn't want him to be a bodybuilder because she didn't want him to spend that much time thinking about himself. And she was quite specific. Want someone who celebrates Christmas but not go to church every Sunday. The one sort of two good things I liked about her. One is that she was holding her mum's hand in the car on the way to the church. And I thought that was really sweet because a few of them went on their own in the car, and I didn't love that for them, and I thought that was nice that she had that support. And the second thing is her dad looks like Kevin Costner a bit.
Oh,
and
like him.
Oh, so I was like, yeah, okay, I'm down for that. But they were her redeeming qualities. I love Kevin Costner. Do you like Kevin Costner?
Kevin Costner? No, I'm not into Kevin Costner. No.
Oh my God, he was just in Brisbane recently. Anyway.
Jesus. Well, I'm glad you didn't run across him because he's not.
Have you watched Yellowstone?
I started watching Yellowstone and then I ran out of interest.
I can't relate. Okay. So then we've got Nick, who has been on The Circle and some dating show and says he's here for the right reasons, even though he's been on 4 to 5 dating shows. And then when they first met and he tells her, he fully underplays it. And he only says he's been on The Circle. And I just wrote, like he's already kind of lying to her straight off.
And that is the worst thing you can do. He should have been like, I've been on 5 or 3, 10, whatever it is. I've been on all these shows, but I swear to you, or just be honest and be like, I've done a lot of reality shows because I'd really like a career in the media. You can just say that.
But see, I don't know that he does because his friends kept saying what a good guy he is. And although I know all of his friends were friends that he'd met on different reality shows, which was interesting. Yes. But then I was thinking, no, maybe he just hasn't met the one yet on the shows. And that's why he keeps going on the shows because he really wants to meet the one. I was behind that. I was like, that could be fine, except for then when he lied to her. And then she's going around the reception and different people are telling her different stories. And I was like, that must be so crap.
Icky. Yeah, it would be crap. And look, I think she's insecure as well. I think she has insecurities about her looks because she said, I just hope he doesn't see me and run away, which I thought was really sad. And I was like, do you really think that? Because that thought would never occur to me. And I'm not super confident or anything, but
no, both of them thought that. They both thought that. And I think that's both of their biggest fear was that the person was going to see them and sort of run away. And I thought, if you're both, again, so lacking in self-confidence, who will be the strength here?
I don't know, but I do think he's the spice and she's the salt because honestly, I found her very non-compelling on my screen.
I just gave them a 4 out of 10. I don't think I even rated them as their spice and salt, but if I had to, yes, agreed. He would be the spice and she would be the salt.
Yeah, I'd give them a 3 out of 10 too. I don't even think there's going to be any huge blow-ups. I think it's just not going to go anywhere. Yeah,
it might just fizzle out. Although they both kept saying how lonely they were. I'm so lonely. I'm so lonely. I don't want them to be lonely anymore. Okay.
She's 28. Stop being lonely and stop being fabulous. I'm sorry, I can't with this I'm so lonely bullshit when you're not even 30 yet.
That's true. And you're just spending your whole life in the gym.
Yeah.
Well,
also give yourself more credit than just defining yourself by whether you have a partner. And if not, you're so lonely. I know, get a dog. Dogs are great.
Dogs are amazing. make some
Yep.
friends. But we're moving on to some who are a little older. So let's go on to Dr. Sean and Nikki. So we have Dr. Sean, who's 47 but looks like 67. I thought at the start, I was like, how old is this man? But I think it's just his grey beard. Who's an educator, an executive coach, and
And
earth.
Sophie's watching the show and she's going, who is this elderly man that has wandered onto the set? Sir, are you
Yeah.
confused? You're elderly. This poor guy is only 47. He's 2 years older than me.
Are we watching The Golden Bachelor all of a sudden? I thought I had switched channels. And
Something
not that
unusual.
there's anything wrong with that, but, and there is a really big age gap in one of the couples, but it's not this one. So, because she's actually 46. So, Nikki is 46. She's a HR leader at a big tech firm. She identifies as what kind of sexuality is it?
Sapiosexual. But
Sapiosexual.
I have thoughts on that. She said that, which is fine. I would say the same thing, that you have to be intellectually stimulated to be attracted to someone. That doesn't mean looks don't count. So she then, she told the experts that that's very important to her. She likes intellect. She wants to be understood on that level. She's obviously extremely bright. And that's part of attraction for her. And then she said sort of off the cuff, I guess that makes me a sapiosexual. But she certainly was not. Here's what she was not saying that I think the experts missed. She was not saying that physical is not important. She was not saying that intellect is the only marker of attraction for her. And they asked her, does she want a tall man or would she be open to a shorter man? And her first answer was very telling. She said, I like over 6 foot. And then there was a pause and she said, but I have dated shorter. Like, I'm not going to discriminate. And I think they took that as a green flag for being with a shorter man. Listen, sorry, I'm going to cut to the chase because I've had a cocktail. When she saw poor old Sean at the altar, I've never seen a more disappointed bride. Like, big time.
She had the ick and they played like that carnival music. And I was like, oh no, they're getting the carnival music. And I had hoped, so he also said he wanted someone tall. He likes a woman with long legs. And I immediately thought, they can be the Jules and Cam. Because because I just rewatched that, they're one of the most successful Australian couples. But Jules had said she wanted someone taller than her because she's really tall. Cam wanted someone smaller than him because he's really short. They walk in, they have like a undeniable, height difference. And then they both sat there at their wedding reception and they just got out on the table. She's like, I asked for someone taller. He's like, I asked for someone shorter. And and they both said, but now that I've met you, I don't care. And it was true.
Yeah.
And they just put it out on the table immediately. Like, you're not what I asked for, but thank God I got you. And I was like, okay, hopefully it'll be Jules and Cam. But no, as you say, when she saw him, the level of ick on her face.
It was upsetting. It was upsetting for so many reasons. I was upset for Sean because he seems, if a little unsophisticated, he's highly educated. He has a great job. He's so kind. He's a very sweet man. That's what that old man is doing here, Sophie. He's a very sweet man.
But he's also like, like the old men that are like hypersexual, because then he kept saying, like, as it got later in the episode, he kept getting like more and more hypersexual, and I didn't pick that at the start.
I didn't pick that at the start either, and it gave me the ick big time later. But at the start, as I say, I was like, oh, he's just this sweet, cuddly man, like, and he's got a good job, and he's obviously so smart. And then the look on her face was not only so obvious that everyone must have noticed, but I remember thinking, these are two older people. They really do want to find someone. They've convinced themselves over the months-long process that this could be a Hail Mary for them. And you could just see in her face when she saw him realizing that dream was now gone. That was so sad.
Although she said to her bridesmaids before she saw him, she's like, I will take him as God has given him or made him, because they were sort of teasing her about, what if he doesn't look how you want. And hopefully, like, maybe because, he said he did his SATs in grade 7, valedictorian, he's a drunk. Hopefully she gets to know him. Something does happen there, because he's 47, she's 46. He wants kids immediately. Although I will say about him, he also seems like a bit of a grifter, which is that American term for
like a user. But why do you think that?
Yes, because you know how she was saying she wanted someone to make in the 250, 300 range, and then the expert was like, well, could you go down to 200? But when they asked him the same question, he goes, oh, yeah, I'm often not the earner in, the relationship because I study and I do whatever. And if I need to be the provider, I could do it because I'm going to have this great new job. But he did it. He gave me like the grifter vibes then, where it was like he wants to be taken care of, is what I
Oh,
think.
okay. Well, that just makes me think even more that this is, look, she's not getting over his looks and his kind of dorky personality. On top of that, like she's just not. I can just see it in her face. I don't think there's anything he could do. As you said, later in the night, he seemed to convince himself there was plenty of chemistry and started hitting on her. And I was like, ick, 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 read the room, ick. You can't read the room. That's also an ick. There's not a chance in hell for this couple, in my opinion, which is really sad to say that at the outset, especially because they're both older and it would have been lovely to see. But now that you've also added the grifter take on top, I'm just like, girl, run. Just get out of there. Just
Yeah,
go.
go. Yeah. So I've given them a 4 out of 10.
I'm going to give them a 3 out of 10.
Okay. And also, like, I'm talking myself further out of it because then he asked her for a kiss on the lips in front of everybody when he did the garter thing, which was so gross because, of course, she had to say yes. And then he did it again when they got home, was like, can I kiss you again? And she's like, no. And I want you to stop trying to push it because it's like, yeah, he already did it in a public forum and she had to say yes. And then he was pushed. Yeah. So anyway, I just hope he calms down a little.
I had blocked the garter removal dance that he did completely because I was so icked out by it. Because, listen, there's nothing wrong with a bit of romance in public, like a soft kiss or a hug. Like, that's lovely. But, like, to kind of emulate this overtly sexual stripper vibes, pulling something off with your I like, it's just icky to me in front of everyone. I'm like, particularly because it's one thing if like there are a couple that have had sex and we all know that they're happy to do that. That's fine. It's funny. These two people just met. It is such a breach of boundaries.
Yes, it's a breach of boundary. And you're in a room alone with this man. But I will say, so 2 other things that stood out for me with them was he said at the start he had space in his life for someone else and he'd been buying 2 of everything for the last year. And I was like, oh, that's sweet. And then I was like, 2 of what?
What?
Of what? Like, what have you been buying 2 of? Like, I was like, to maybe 2 toothbrushes, okay, but like what, like what else could you be buying 2 of? Like, you don't. It's not like 2 matching jumpers. Like, you don't know what size. 2 of what?
It's bullshit. That is an excellent question. And I think it's a lie. And I think we're going to find out unless, as we saw on one of these Lovers Blind seasons from years past, I can't tell you which one it was, but they turned up and he literally turned up at this guy's apartment and he had 1 cup, 1 plate, 1 mug.
Okay, if you've been buying 2 forks and 2, okay, fine. And then the other thing that was beautiful was that his mum bought the broom and for them to jump over the broom. And they did the most amazing slow-mo of them jumping over with music. And like her boobs looked amazing. And the whole thing, that was really, really nice. So I had a moment in that moment. I was like, oh, I hope they make it. And then, the genuine pony garter dance happened and it all went away.
Oh, okay, moving on. We've got to move on from this.
Yes, we've got to.
Oh, okay.
Should we Cameron and Michelle?
This is weird. He is weird. I love her. She seems great. Guys, Cameron is a former basketball player. He coaches at community college level, which I think is a good job. And I imagine he's trying to work his way up to like actual college level where they get paid fantastic money and, they love it. He's very tall. I noticed that he had a very long head. So like a bit of a cone head. It's because he's so tall. So, like, everything is long and his head's long. He appears to have absolutely no sense of humor or no personality. So, I can't decide if he's not into her and not into the process and regrets everything, which doesn't make sense. She seems great. Or if he's really socially awkward because he can't look at her. He can't make conversation with her. And she is this beautiful girl with a successful career. She owns her own condo.
Yeah, it's confusing. I have him down as the salt. And, obviously he's done things like he's played basketball in Ireland and Australia and Chile. So he's done stuff. And when they said he's won Coach of the Year twice, I was like, that means something. You must be a good coach. But then his friend said, I wouldn't originally have like picked him to be a good dad or husband, but now he's matured a little. And I was like, what? Is he a dick? And then you probably didn't. Did you ever watch Selling OC? It was like the Selling Sunset, but the Selling OC.
I watched it. Yeah, it had Alex Hall on it, and
Yes.
that actress's husband.
Yes, the actress's husband. So it was Brittany Snow's husband. He looks like him and he kind of gives me his vibes, and he was a total wanker. And so he, cheated on Brittany Snow to begin with.
Which was insane.
But also sort of strung Alex along too, but then sort of always came across as the good guy, but also emotionally stunted. So he reminded me of him, and I don't know where I land with that.
It's complicated. If he's not socially awkward and he is that type of guy, yeah, I don't like that at all. I also thought no matter how socially awkward you are, he didn't seem to be being very kind to her. So they had the wedding, like she's beautiful, he's tall, they get married. They couldn't seem to do the small talk chit chat. So this weird quirk of the American MAFS, they make them walk down the aisle and the celebrant says like, this is blah, blah, this is blah, blah, and then says nothing. And they were told to all prepare talking points about themselves to be able to introduce themselves, make a bit of small talk at the altar. This guy could not do that at all.
No. And I think it just reminded me too, they've got the biggest age gap. So he's 37 and she's 28, which again is an issue because it's like, well, at 37, why are you unable to string a few words together to tell us about yourself?
Yeah. And why are you unable to make small talk in a situation you signed up for? Why are you not able to just do the basics in terms of kindness and engagement with this other person that again is here because you signed up for this as well? Like, it's not like he was drag kicking and screaming into this process. He wanted it. So if he is a dick, then that leads me to believe that he's not physically into Michelle, which is wild because she's so beautiful.
She is so beautiful. And like it feels like she's got it all. And I can't remember if we actually said what they do. So she is, yes, successful career in her own right, but owns her own condo. So we don't know exactly what she's done, but she's obviously done well.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really interesting because his sister seemed to be of Asian appearance.
Yes.
And then so is Michelle.
Yeah.
And so I thought, I don't even think the experts could have known that. So I thought that was interesting. And I'm just hoping that he's painfully shy and her spice brings out, or creates enough space for him to come out of his shell, but I'm not sure.
I think that's a really lovely and generous take. I'm going to say she deserves someone who's not painfully shy. Like, normally I'd be the same. I'd be like, look, they're here. Maybe he can come out of his shell and da-da-da. And then I'm like, actually, you know what? No, she can do better. And he seems, because I don't care how shy you are. After the wedding, when they're in the car together, he wouldn't even look at her or talk to her.
I know.
Rude. It's patently rude. And the only thing that we saw, at least from the edit, was them having a conversation where he basically was saying that his friends didn't think he'd ever get married. And she said something like, oh, yeah, because like now I'm worried you're going to be so picky with everything. So.
But yes, no, I think he fixed that. So that was so in the car, that was horrible because he said, I've probably been too picky. And then she's like, oh, that makes me nervous that you're going to be nitpicky on me. When they got back to the hotel room and they were talking, he corrected that. He said, like, oh, I could have been picky, but it was probably me and I probably wasn't ready. And I was like, good, because he'd put a lot of pressure on her, I think he didn't intend to do that. So I feel like he corrected it.
I think I'm going to give them a 1 out of 10. 1 out of 10.
Yes, ditto. I'm going to give her a 10 out of 10 though. Big fan.
Listen, other than Courtney, all the women get a 10 out of 10 from me. Now, the last couple,
Devin and Caitlin.
Devin and Caitlin. And these, I'm sorry, whenever I see, so these are the youngest couple in the series. He's 26, she's 27. And I actually love, you see this in Australian MAFS from time to time, when they get like a super young couple, because who's really worried about like not finding love at 26. Not me. I was in my toxic era. I was having a great time. Lots of G&Ts. So they're here for a party, and there are so many red flags about this guy, Devin. And she's just like, I don't care. Like, let's go with it. We're young. They'll probably have great sex. Like, this happens in the Australian MAFS too. It's like they have no standards. They're just like, whoever you give me, I'm going to party with.
Yeah, no skin in the game, because it's like if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Okay, I didn't know about this sort of archetype of couple, but I have to tell you that I have a crush on Devin.
No.
And I know. And I was like, because originally he's like, I am power, I am speed. And I was like, oh, you loser. And then there's just something about him. He had a little bit of an X factor. Like the fact, like when he was wearing his sunglasses down the aisle, like that is disgusting and so disrespectful.
Yeah.
And then like the blonde tips. Anyway, I was like, I hate it. I love it. It was so weird. And his type is Sydney Sweeney. Like it's so gross. Like everything about it was gross. But I look at it, I wrote, he's a gentle giant with a history of being abandoned. And they both want butterflies and Rambo.
My God. Okay. Sophia. I thought I was bad. I was like a sucker for a sweet edit. This man has shaved head with like a ridiculous mullet. I mean, actually, that was kind of endearing. I'm not going to lie. He's got blonde frosted tips. He's 26. He's a football player. He's tall. He's jacked. He wore his sunglasses the entire wedding on top of his mullet hair. I was like,
it's so wrong.
Take your sunglasses off. Take your sunglasses. Where's your mother? Where's your father? Where's anyone to tell you to take them off? And then obviously her dad was this kind of, he's also odd, but he was very traditional and like, this isn't what I want for my daughter. And it's like, oh, whatever, shut up. It's a stupid TV show. Just enjoy it like the rest of us. And
Yes.
when they arrived and he said something, I was like, I'm used to the Australian couples where the man will go and introduce himself to the bride's family, shake their hand, reassure the dad, like, which is just the basics of courtesy. Devin didn't do it.
Yes, I noticed, like, I don't know if it was him or a couple of them, like, they tried to just sort of make general small talk in the other direction. But yeah, he didn't go over and do that.
Ick.
Yeah, ick, but not ick for me. And it was like, he swore when he was like, before she even got there, he goes like, fuck yeah, let's do it or something. And then when she got to the front, she goes like, let's fucking go. And I was like smiling ear to ear. I was like, you two, this is amazing. And like, yeah, her dad was being a total weirdo and possessive. And then, you know, her dad then makes this like speech at the end of the night when he's drunk and is like, I approve. And then Devin's like, oh, this is amazing. It means that like my family and I have like changed his opinion on like, anyway. But I will say, did you see Devin like hug his grandma?
Yeah,
and he was
that did
just like,
nothing to me.
it went on and on. It was so sweet.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, my cocktail has definitely kicked in. But you know what it is? Sorry. She's obviously ADHD, and I don't know whether she knows it or doesn't know it, because she's like, my dad takes care of my phone and my keys.
yeah.
And she's like, who's going to look after my phone? And then she's been like she's had like 45 different jobs. She's been like a cycling instructor, and she's been all of these things. I was like, you're ADHD. But then she says to him, like, you're now responsible for my keys and my phone. And he didn't even question it. He was like, okay. And I was just like, oh.
I love that. Like, I feel like, okay. So I think they're both young. They're both chill. They don't have any deal breakers yet. She's like, he's tall, he's jacked. She's small and cute. They're both attractive. I agree with you. When he was swearing at the altar, I was like, oh my God. Oh no. It's giving me anxiety. But then she walked up and she's like, yeah, all right, let's fucking go. And I was like, oh, no, okay. But at least it's the same. They're on the same level.
They're on the same page.
I agree. I think she's just a happy-go-lucky ADHD type B personality. She's seeing this for the adventure that it is. I think he is too. But I do think they're both spices, and I do think they're going to have massive clashes as it goes on. What do you think?
Yes, I agree. And I think they will. And can they get past, will it be worth it to get past it? And probably not, because, I mean, I love it. She says, I can work from anywhere. He's a professional rugby player. I can travel with him. I can't see it being worth the effort in the long run. But do I see them making it to the final episode? Yes. I'm giving them an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I'd give them a 7 out of 10 to make it to the end for sure. Because they're just not in a hurry to give up. Like, No, they're just having
Exactly.
time. And more power to them. But I can't
But
believe
let's really see how bad a judge of character I am. Because honestly, I was like, everything about this man should be no. And I was like loving him. I like had a full on Devon crush by the end. Like, and he's like,
Sophie, he's 26, he's 18 years younger than you. Poo
they'd
poo.
pair us.
Poo poo. We're not meant to know that.
Poo poo. Well, when I'm on the Golden Bachelorette, they can cast him.
You'll be on the Golden Bachelorette. Oh, Sean, may he rest. That's the only way that'll happen. And you'll be wandering the halls saying, who are these? What are these old men doing here? And they'll be
Why are
like,
these old men here?
yeah,
Where's Devon?
they're lost. And you'll be like, these are your contestants.
No, absolutely not. I think that's it. I think there's only 7 couples. Is that right?
So far, anyway. I don't know if there'll be more because we're now waiting for the rest of the episodes to drop. But there you go, guys. That's our predictions. We may be very wrong.
Yes, there are hot takes based on very little. I'm dying to get to the end, and we might be very embarrassed that we recorded this, but it'll be out there in the universe and we won't be able to pull it back.
It'll be on the internet. What can we do? This was all based on vibes and Sophia's libido, apparently. So you're welcome, everyone.
And a little G&T, you know.
Well, darling,
Cheers.
we'll see how it goes. Guys, tell us if you're enjoying our side dish episodes. And Sophie, I'll be speaking to you. Love you.
Speaking to you very soon. Love you. Bye.
Bye.
This podcast was recorded on the lands of the Yagara, Turrbal, and Lutruwita peoples. We pay our respects to their elders, past and present.